My name is Molly. I work as a public servant in a small town. 8 years ago, I married Michael, who also works as a public servant. Given our jobs require frequent relocations, we live apart and don't have children. Every evening at 9 p.m., I get a WhatsApp message from Michael. Damn, I have a meeting tonight too. You're always dealing with this alone. When can you come home next? I don't know, not sure. And that's the end of it. This has been the extent of our conversations. Despite being married for 8 years, we've never lived together. Some might think our marriage is a matter of convenience, but this arrangement isn't unusual in our field. Both of us are federal civil servants, specifically soldiers, and we're transferred to different military bases every 2 to 3 years. Our residence changes with each new assignment. 2 years ago, during one of our WhatsApp chats, should I buy an apartment in Jackson, Mississippi, where my parents live? Oh, that sounds great. I hope I get stationed in Jackson too. Definitely, we are a couple, after all. Why do you doubt it? Are we really a couple? Why are you asking such things? Still at work. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye. Our conversations are always brief. 2 years ago, I bought an apartment in Jackson, planning to live there when I retire. If Michael gets stationed there, we'll finally be able to live together. On that day, I received an unexpected phone call from Michael instead of the usual WhatsApp message. That's unusual, a call instead of a message. Hey, my parents are planning a trip from Eugene, Oregon, to Kentucky. When they pass through Mississippi, would it be okay if they stayed at your apartment? It would mean a lot. Sure, Michael, it's been a while since I last saw your parents. Thanks for letting me know. Bye. Despite the rare call, Michael's tone was as distant as ever. When was the last time I saw my in-laws? Has it really been since our wedding? I guess so. I'm based in Mississippi, while Michael moves around the country, and his parents live in Eugene, Oregon. We rarely have the chance to meet. With the chance to host my in-laws, I wanted them to enjoy Jackson, so I eagerly offered to show them around the city. Molly, it's been so long. How have you been? I'm doing well, thank you. Michael's been on his own for a while now. Sorry we haven't had the chance to catch up. Oh, don't worry, we're pretty much like heir to each other. Yes, that's exactly how it's been, Michael and I, like heir, for better or worse. Since you're here, let's tour the Windsor ruins today, I suggested, driving them to the historic site. These ruins are impressive. They rival the Shelton McMurphy Johnson house in Eugene, my father-in-law remarked, admiring the Windsor ruins. He noted the recent damage from an earthquake 6 years ago and the subsequent demolition of irreparable parts. That's a shame, I agreed. Next, let's visit the petrified forest, I proposed. I spent the whole day showing my in-laws around Mississippi's attractions. My mother-in-law was charmed by the city and even started talking about possibly living here. I've fallen in love with Mississippi, thank you. Molly, would it be okay if I stayed here for a while? Of course, I'm usually out during the day, so I'll give you a spare key. I handed over a spare key, thinking they'd stay for 4 or 5 days at most, but a week had passed, and my in-laws showed no signs of leaving. I decided it was time to make a proposal to my in-laws. If you like the place so much, I can lease it to you for $600 a month. In the meantime, I can stay with my folks in the city. My father-in-law suddenly erupted in anger. What are you thinking? Asking family to pay rent? You should let us stay here for free. Calm down, dear, my mother-in-law intervened, trying to defuse the situation. Despite her efforts to calm things down, I felt unsettled. Alright, how about this? You just cover the utility costs, electricity, water, and gas. A few days later, during the second week of their stay, my cell phone rang while I was at work. Hello. Hi, this is Brian, the property manager from Front Hills. We received a call from the tenants downstairs about a water leak from your apartment that's causing a stain on their ceiling. Can you come over right away? We can't enter without your permission. Since I couldn't leave work immediately, I had to wait until my lunch break to head back to the apartment. Upon arriving with the property manager. Oh, Molly, what's going on? Why are you here? Ma'am, the downstairs tenants reported a water leak from our place. A leak? I'm not sure what you're talking about. Ignoring her confusion, I made my way to the washing machine. The hose had come loose, and the washer was running and draining repeatedly. This must be the issue. We went downstairs with the manager to inspect the damage. Sure enough, the ceiling below was stained, right where the washing machine was located. I let out an involuntary sigh as my mother-in-law peeked into the room and then retreated with a guilty expression. I ended up apologizing to the downstairs neighbors with a box of cookies and received a repair bill from property management. When I informed my mother-in-law, she reacted angrily. So you're telling us to pack up and leave? We're not going anywhere that easily. Are we supposed to just leave? The issues didn't stop with the water leak. Property management called again with another complaint from the residents. This is Brian, the property manager from Front Hills. What's the problem now? I braced myself for more bad news. This time, the complaint was about my father-in-law singing loudly on the balcony every night, creating a noise disturbance. Seriously? I was furious but kept my composure. I had to address this problem. When I arrived at the apartment, my in-laws were gone. I found a note on the table. Thank you for your hospitality. We're heading back to Seattle. What? That's it? I shouted in frustration. They had left without paying for any of the utilities they used and had left a significant amount of garbage behind. At least take out your trash. Ugh. With my in-laws gone, I moved back into the apartment from my parents' house. Then, one day, I received an unexpected call from my husband. My parents love your apartment, so I'm giving it to them as a gift. If you oppose this, we're getting a divorce. In the background, I could hear my mother-in-law's laughter. After my in-laws left my apartment, they moved into their son's government quarters, my husband's place. Instead of confronting me directly, they manipulated him into pressuring me to give up the apartment. How did it come to this? Now, I'm faced with a stark choice: surrender the apartment I finally managed to secure or get a divorce. It's a clear-cut decision. I pondered deeply, feeling frustrated. Alright, I've made up my mind. 2 days later, instead of a WhatsApp message, my husband called me. You'll pay for this. The same day he forced me to choose between relinquishing the apartment or getting a divorce. I sent him the divorce papers via express mail. His reaction was one of surprise and anger. Less than a week later, I was summoned by my boss at work. Just a moment, Molly. To my disbelief, I received a transfer order to Dallas. It turned out my ex-husband, who handles personnel, had used his influence to make my life difficult since I refused to give up my apartment. Damn it, I won't forget this. But what about the apartment? Should I relent and rent it to my ex's parents? This might be the perfect time. I visited the legal affairs department at work. You have no ties to your ex-husband anymore, so you're not obligated to his parents either. Renting out your apartment as a landlord seems like the best option. That made sense to me. I promptly contacted my in-laws, who had returned to Portland, and told them I was ready to rent out my apartment when I'm transferred. They agreed without hesitation. It wasn't harassment. They genuinely liked the apartment. I set the rent at $700 per month, including utilities and repair costs from their previous stay, and they accepted without any complaints. While in Dallas, I also prepared for the internal selection examination for the command staff course, a rigorous program for unit commanders. Passing this exam and completing over a year of training would lead to assignments as unit commanders across the country. My motivation wasn't just about climbing the ranks or leading others. It was about surpassing my ex-husband and proving myself. And believe it or not, I successfully passed the examination and was admitted to the command staff course on my first attempt. Watch this, Michael, the real revenge starts now. Students of the command staff course attend the military officer school in New York, where my ex-husband is stationed. Although he must have known about my success, I deliberately didn't contact him, and he didn't reach out to me. After 16 months, I was assigned as a unit commander responsible for soldier education and training in Nebraska. Coincidentally, my ex-husband was also assigned to Nebraska, where he worked at the Regional Cooperation Headquarters, acting as a liaison between the military and the local community. Thanks to my success in the internal selection exam, My rank is now higher than my ex-husband's. That day, we were participating in a training session for senior officers who had recently arrived in Nebraska. Hey, why are you wearing a higher rank insignia than me? As soon as my ex-husband spotted me, he stormed over and yelled at me, shocking everyone around us, including the higher-ups. I shrugged it off, thinking, I'm no longer associated with someone like you. It was a beautiful, sunny Sunday, the day of the annual base open house, a rare chance for civilians to interact with servicemen, from children to adults. Everyone enjoyed the displays of tanks and the thrilling combat simulations. Soldiers rappelled from a helicopter, landing with precision and readying their weapons, while visitors took photos with soldiers in camouflage and enjoyed various souvenirs. As a training coordinator, I was stationed at a booth where civilians could try out the forward-leaning rest position with active servicemen. That's when my ex-husband and his parents' association group showed up. The chance for revenge was too perfect to miss. Perfect opportunity for revenge. Let's see, Mr. Over there, Mom and Dad, care to join us? I called them over and set my ex-husband and his parents up at our booth. I reluctantly fitted my ex-husband with an iron helmet and lined him up with the other servicemen and civilians. Alright, here's how it works. In the military, we assign numbers and call them out rather than using names. I'll start the numbering. When I say, start numbering, the person on the right will say, 1. Then the next person will say 2, 3, 4, and so on. I placed my ex-husband at the far right in the number 1 position, with others filling the spots as well. Numbering, start. 1, number 1. You're slow. When I say, start numbering, you need to respond immediately. Yes. Watching my ex-husband stand straight and at attention, struggling to keep up, almost made me burst out laughing. This is quite amusing. Now we're going to practice the forward-leaning rest position. The instructor, a serviceman, demonstrated the forward-leaning rest position and gave a brief lecture. After the participants practiced and got the hang of it, I took over. Next, we'll conduct combat training. Soldiers, watch where your muzzles are pointing. Civilians, please pretend you have weapons. I gave instructions to the 9 participants. Target the tree ahead and move forward. We're still some distance from the enemy. Everyone, stay low and use the target tree as cover while advancing. Keep your weapons pointed in the direction of the enemy and perform a bounding overwatch. Number 1. Start the bounding overwatch and move forward. I decided to test my ex-husband's limits with my commands. What's taking you so long? Number 1, move forward. Number 1, move. Reluctantly, my ex-husband advanced. Number 1, you're standing too tall. You're exposing yourself. Do you want to get shot? Under the blazing sun, my ex-husband, a soldier, crawled along the ground with his rifle. He finally reached the designated spot and barely managed to say, Number 1, your voice is too quiet, try again. Laughter erupted from the crowd. Unaware of our personal connection, the spectators found it entertaining to watch a female commander treating a male soldier as if he were a mere pawn. My ex-husband's parents, however, watched with grim expressions. In the rigid hierarchy of the military, my ex-husband, who had initially outranked me, had always tried to assert his dominance over me both at work and at home. The military often emphasizes rank, even among spouses, and I suspect my in-laws began to look down on me, basking in the prestige their son's rank brought, rather than his personal qualities. Driven by frustration, I decided to take the selection exam and passed it on my first attempt, leading to a dramatic turnaround. I felt a sense of satisfaction as I proved myself superior to my ex-husband and his parents, particularly in front of those who saw their son as a big deal. My rebuke seemed to make a significant impression. A few days later, I received a call from my ex-in-laws expressing their desire to move out of their apartment. Meanwhile, I was finally able to move back to my own place and commute from there instead of my parents' home. Ironically, I still encounter my ex-husband from time to time, and seeing his sour expression has become a private delight of mine.